Good afternoon and welcome to performance at St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Key West, Florida. And welcome to our 20th week in a journey exploring the psalm, hymn, and folk melodies that have been used in the church through the ages and arranged for the organ. In the Gospel of John, the 10th chapter, verse 14, we recognize these words, "I am the good shepherd, I know my sheep, and my sheep know me." Jesus is saying that as a shepherd, we are his sheep because we know the sound of his voice and that he will lay down his life for his sheep. This setting of the Good Shepherd is by Dale Wood. I could not find the original melody that he used, but it definitely has a folk tune feel. You can almost imagine the solo flute stop being the sound of the shepherd's voice, and the strings, that of his flock. I'd like to visit with Dietrich Buxtehude again. He has set the chorale prelude to the tune Nun komm der Heiden Heiland, Savior of the Nations, come. I know that we are not in the Advent season, but listen to these words. Savior of the nations, come, Virgin Son, here make thy home. Marvel now, O heaven and earth, that the Lord chose such a birth. Thou, the Father's only Son, hast over sin the victory won. Boundless shall thy kingdom be. When shall we its glories see? Praise to God the Father, sing. Praise to God the Son, our King. Praise to God the Spirit be, ever and eternally. Number 54 in our 1982 hymnal is the melody. A native of Cambridge, Massachusetts, our next arranger and composer is well known as an award-winning composer, organist, choral conductor, pianist, and teacher. He is a graduate of the Curtis Institute of Music, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and the Catholic University of America, Washington, D.C. Additional studies have been in England, France, Germany, and Belgium. He holds the Associate and Choirmaster certificates from the American Guild of Organists. Composer Charles Callahan has set a 5-movement partita on Hyfrydal. Here are 2 of those movements, Andante and Adagio. You can follow the melody in our hymnal, number 460. It has been about 2 months since we heard from one of Herbert Howells and his psalm preludes. This is the first piece from his second set, and is based on Psalm 130, verse 1. Out of the depths I cry to you, Lord. This piece was dedicated to John Dykes Bauer, who was then the organist of St. Paul's Cathedral. Bauer served St. Paul's in London for over 30 years. In John Greenleaf Whittier's poem, The Brewing of Soma, lies the 5 stanzas that we now sing as Dear Lord and Father of Mankind. I'll read a few stanzas. Dear Lord and Father of mankind, forgive our foolish ways, reclothe us in our rightful mind, in pure lives thy service find, in deeper reverence praise. O Sabbath rest of Galilee, O calm of hills above, where Jesus knelt to share with thee the silence of eternity, interpreted by love. Breathe through the heats of our desire thy coolness and thy balm. Let sense be dumb, let flesh retire. Speak through the earthquake, wind, and fire, O still small voice of calm. It's an interesting story if you read the whole poem. I looked up the meaning of soma. In Greek, it means body. In ancient Hindu, Soma was their moon god, and also was a drink that was brewed before drinking it. It is written of in the Vedas, in which there are many hymns praising it. Vedas were texts that constitute the oldest layers of Sanskrit literature and the oldest scriptures of Hinduism. Soma was probably a juice made of a hallucinogenic mountain plant, or the haoma plant. This will bring new meaning to me whenever I sing the hymn again. Listen to a few of the earlier stanzas from this poem. And brewed they well or brewed they ill, the priests thrust in their rods, first tasted and then drank their fill, and shouted with one voice and will, behold the drink of gods. They drank, and lo, in heart and brain a new glad life began. The gray of hair gray young again, the sick man laughed away his pain, the cripple leapt and ran. Drink, mortals, what the gods have given, forget your long annoy. So sang the priests from tent to tent. The Soma's sacred madness went, a storm of drunken joy. I have a love for the beautiful settings of hymn tunes that Dale Wood has set for us over the years. Let all things now living a song of thanksgiving to God the Creator triumphantly raise, who fashioned and made us, protected and stayed us, who guides us and lead us to the end of our days. God's banner flies o'er us, God's light goes before us, a pillar of fire shining forth in the night, till shadows have vanished and darkness is banished, as forward we travel from light into light. Here it is set to the Welsh folk tune, The Ash Grove, by Dale Wood. I would like to introduce you to another Baroque composer, Ludwig Krebs, who was a student of J.S. Bach and lived from 1713 until 1780. Krebs' counterpoint is considered by many to be comparable to Bach's, but it was old-fashioned and excessively complex for the classic period of music that he was finding himself living in. The Baroque era basically ended with Bach's death in 1750. Complexity of polyphony was out, and simplicity was in. Despite never holding a court composer post and never being commissioned for a work, Krebs composed a significant collection of works, including oratorios, orchestral, chamber, and organ music, though few were published until after the 1900s. Here is his chorale prelude set to the tune Sleepers Wake. Had to get in the last word, you know. Last week, we explored a little bit about us singing portions of the Mass that we sing as hymns. The Gloria and the Credo, for example, from last week. Here is the introit of the Gregorian Mass for the dead. Requiem aeternam dona eis Domine, grant them eternal rest, O Lord. This text is set by Everett Titcomb, who lived from 1868 until 1964. Titcomb was a prolific composer for choir and organ, and he served as the organist choirmaster of the Church of St. John the Evangelist in Boston from 1910 until 1959. Here is his setting that he titled Requiem. My last piece today was made popular by world-famous American organist Virgil Fox. He lived from 1912 until 1980 and died in Palm Beach, Florida. He was a flamboyant player, a Liberace on the organ, and brought the pipe organ and its music to the masses, along with light shows, to bring attention to the organ to those that loved rock and roll. He had great musical pedigree, having studied with organist-composer Wilhelm Mittelschulte and teachers such as Hugh Price, Louis Robert, and moving to France, he studied with Marcel Dupré and Louis Vierne. For 19 years, he was the organist at New York City's Riverside Church. And in the mid-70s, I actually saw him perform at Chautauqua Institute in Chautauqua, New York, a stone's throw from my hometown of Jamestown, in the western part of the state, west and south of Buffalo. Here is Claude Means' arrangement of Now Thank We All Our God. I want to thank you all for sitting beside me these last 20 weeks. Who would have thought that we would still be in thick of this pandemic? So I have decided that I can't quit now, nor can I take 2 weeks off. Who knows where we will go, but one thing I know for certain: let's do this together until we truly are tired of each other. For the next 2 weeks, just hymns. My favorites, my picks, as well as yours, that seemed to be a hit a few weeks ago. So please make your requests right here as a comment, or send them to me at tim@stpaulskeywest.org. I will try to accommodate you. So until next week, Soli Deo Gloria, to God alone be the glory.